Good evening, everybody. Officially, we begin Unit 3, okay? Well, in the previous part, I'm sure that you were reviewing certain aspects of Unit 2, including the grammatical component. In our Unit 3, of course, we will go back to certain elements that we have already studied, but in terms of the grammatical component, it's going to be a little bit different. Just like to have a look before I take attendance. In this unit, the grammar would be narrative tenses, something that you have already studied while you were in A2. So we're going to refresh our memory. In this case, talking about, well, narrative tenses tonight and continuous aspect in other tenses, that will be tomorrow. Vocabulary will be about mishaps, crime and punishment, that it is very connected to one unit that we studied in B1.3. The task would be to tell a story from 2 points of view. The language life is dealing with unexpected problems and narrative, okay? So that is going to be the idea of this unit. Of course, on this first lesson, we will be working on the first part, the vocabulary of mishaps, and also we will refresh our memory, as I was telling you, about the use of narrative statements. Well, tenses, actually, not a statement, tenses. So this unit in particular is going to require us to write like a little bit. Well, guys, I wanted to give you like the heads up of the unit. I'm gonna take attendance. Today is the 10th. Let me find the chart. Listo. Gerson Arismendi.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Keiner Baez. Not here. Jean-Claude Barrera. Not here too. Yesid Calderon.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Natalia Camargo.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Andrés Camilo Correa.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Andrés Corredor. Andrés Felipe. It seems to be like he's here, but Silvia Natalia Cuellar.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Johan Alberto Duque.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Elkin Dario Fernández. Not here for the moment. Julián Jesús Figueroa.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Linet Valentina Fontecha.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Carlos Andrés Galán.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Mabel y Juliet Gamboa.
Present, teacher.
Okay. José Alejandro Gómez. Andrés was in the kitchen. Okay, there you are. Jose says hello. Yes, your microphone is not working, Jose. It is true. Okay. And Lizeth Carolina Tarazona.
Present, teacher.
Okay, there you are, guys. Usual. Listo. Well, guys, as I was telling you tonight, we're going to start with our Unit 3 officially. And the first aspects that we're going to study are related to mishaps, which is the vocabulary that we have on the first page of the book. I'm going to read this instruction that is the same that we have on page 26. Look at the mishaps below. Read them and choose one that had happened to you. First of all, let's refresh our memory. Guys, what's the meaning of mishaps? What does it mean?
Concept.
Very good. Definitely a mishap is something that it is a kind of a problem, but it's a minor incident, sorry. It is not something big or really problematic. We're talking about just something small that of course was like a kind of problem for us, but it did have a solution at the end, okay? Let's see the different types of mishaps that we have in here. We're gonna read them because remember that the idea, guys, is that you're going to choose one that happened to you, okay? Jessit, could you read number 1, number 2, and number 3, please?
Okay. You lost your case and locked yourself out. You get out stuck in traffic and miss an appointment. You sleep on some ice.
That's it, very good. And lock yourself out. We'll see. 4, 5, and 6. Sylvia, please.
Okay, teacher, 4, 5, and 6. You trip and fall over. 5, you get on the ground train. 6, you get confused and make a mistake.
That's it. Thank you, Sylvia. Natalia, please, 7, 8, and 9.
7, 8, and 9. Okay. Your car breaks down. Breaks down.
Breaks.
Breaks. Okay. Breaks down. Your back. Your head. Your bank. Bang your head, and you get lost.
That's it. Mavely, please, 10, 11, and 12.
At 10, 11, and 12,
Yes.
you spill paint on your clothes. You run out of petrol. You sleep and miss your train.
That's it. And we finish with 13 and 14. Lisette, please.
You drop something valuable and break it, and you borrow something without asking and damage it.
Very good. So here we have a list of 14 mishaps. The idea that you choose one, maybe you need to make certain adjustments. For example, in the case that you choose number 5, maybe you wanna mean public transportation, for instance. Maybe number 3, in case that we don't have like the experience with ice, but maybe with ice cream or with a liquid, it is okay. We make the adjustment to make it, of course, true for us. But let's analyze some of the vocabulary that we have in here. So all of us, all together, can clarify the meaning of those unknown words. Guys, any questions of vocabulary?
Yes, teacher.
Question?
Number 10, spill.
Yes, derramar.
Okay.
Good. Any other?
Run out, and yes, run out.
Acabarse. Agotar. Very good. Any other? Okay. Well, guys, this is what we're going to do. Probably compare to other times that we leave this type of activities at the end of the session. We're going to do it into 2 moments. This is going to be the first moment of using this part. You're going to answer the following questions about the mishap that you had to face. Make sure to use complete ideas, not only phrases. No es necesario tampoco que me describan en detalle en cada uno de los cuadritos. También aclaro esa parte, no lo puse acá. Bueno, acabo de caer en cuenta que hubiese sido inclusive. So, in the first box, you talk about the misshop, like the situation. Let me go back to the slide that you chose from this list that we have in here. Then you're gonna write down when it happened, where it happened, what were you doing when it happened, and how you solved it. One more time, guys. The idea is to have ideas. Do not write full and complete descriptions, just sentences to answer the questions for the moment with like very precise ideas. Natalia, yes.
Teacher, the link is the other group.
Ah,
We-
maybe I sent the old link. Sorry.
Yes, teacher.
Let me eliminate it. I didn't eliminate it. Give me a second. Yes. I guess I didn't change it. Let me know if this one works, please. Yes, that's the one. Very good. Just to refresh your memory, I'm gonna display this image so you know which slide is the one that you are going to use. Remember, very general ideas. Do not write descriptive paragraphs. That's not the point. Precisely with the information that we're going to review, because you already know it, with the information that we're going to review tonight, we're going to have a look at that moment where you actually have to create that descriptive paragraph. For the moment, just answer the questions on each box. Someone raised their hands, but I couldn't see who that
Me,
person was.
teacher.
Julian, I guess? Yes. Tell
Sorry,
me.
teacher, could you show the first slide again, please?
Okay, sure. I hope that you don't have problems with the number of the slide. This one.
Okay.
Very good. Well, guys, because
Alright.
it is brainstorming, you're going to have 7 minutes. That's all that you need. Remember, just answer the questions that are being presented. Do not make any detailed descriptions yet. Is everybody on the slides? Let me see. Gerson, Jobson nombre, number 2, number 3 creo que no están. Yesid, Natalia ahí va, Andrés. Number 8. Silvia Natalia. Johan number 9, 10 Elkin, 11 hasn't written the name yet. 11 is Julian. 12 Jeanette, Carlos, Mabel. 15 hasn't written the name. Jose Alejandro. And 16 is Lisette Carolina. You're writing down your name. Very good. 7 minutes starting now. Okay. For the moment, the idea was to answer the questions very generally, as I told you, not to expand too much. Of course, this brainstorming is gonna be our source or our point of reference to the final output that, of course, guys, you're going to create as, let's say, the result of the session. I'm gonna have a look very quickly to your ideas. Gerson, what is a traffic? Gerson, date is romantic. Lost a medical appointment. Okay.
Okay, teacher. I get it.
Solve it. Yeah. Change it. Bueno, Keiner y Jean-Claude que no están. This it, my car breaks down. Was Santander. I was returning to Bucaramanga. Wait for a mechanic and a tow truck. Hay siempre mayúscula, ¿no, Jessit? Ojo. Yes,
Okay,
yes, yes.
teacher.
Ok. Natalia, que eran de Bucaramanga, Bucaramanga, nombre propio, B mayúscula. Good. Andrés, Camilo. Ok, that was lucky. Andrés Corredor, ¿esta palabra qué significa?
Broken.
No. Look for the spelling, Andrés.
Okay.
Esto no existe. Mira, incluso acá está marcando que está mal. Ojo con con la conjugación. It's a irregular verb. Well, maybe one of your classmates can help you, Jose, to paste your answers in the chart. I'm sure they will. House, I always drop a glass anyway. Oh my God, Silvia. I'm thinking 25, put the mother glass as a present. Muy bien. Okay, Johan. Legendaria. Okay. Very quickly. Just, ¿no? Les con la T. Okay. Jeanette. Okay. With university, normal study day at the university. Probably Carlos hears something in continuous form, like what you were doing. Like you were teaching, you were doing a project, like an action in progress. And a night to them, okay. December va con mayúscula, Mabel. I have to reschedule the appointments, okay. O el host está pendiente que las envíe. La cabecera. Okay, that would be it. Now, so we are pending on your answers when you send them to be pasted on the chart. Very good. Well, gonna leave your answers for a moment. Remember that this is going to be a source that you will be using a little bit later. We're going to have a look at our book. This is going to be on page 26. We're going to talk about the narrative tenses, but before we talk about the narrative tenses, we're going to listen to 3 stories. We have Claire, Luke, and Rachel, and they are talking about their mishaps, you know. The idea is to answer these 2 questions. Johan, could you read question number 1 and number 2, please?
Which mishap is each speaker describing? Who meetings the topic in the box below?
That's it. So let's see the mishaps. We already discussed, no, clarified what mishap is. And also, let's see who of them actually talks about these topics. Which are the topics that we have in here? Gerson, please, could you read them?
Okay, teacher. All topics?
Yes.
Okay, sugar, a first day, a station buffet, a formal dinner, a spoonful of mashed potato, a great aunt and uncle, a remote part of Wales, people wearing evening dress.
That's it. Very good. From this first part that we have in here, guys, do you have any question related to vocabulary?
Yes, teacher. Spoonful.
Spoonful.
Okay, the same.
You remember the meaning of a spoon?
Cucharilla.
No, cucharilla, no, cuchara. Spoonful es que está llena. Entonces sería una cucharada. Oh, no, yo le entendí cucharilla, Julián. Maybe you said cucharada, but I didn't get it. Mashed potato, well, it's like the potato. Well, how do we call mashed potatoes?
Puré. Puré.
Mhm.
Puré.
Very good. That's the one. Any other?
A station buffet. Buffet, the buffet.
Yeah.
Okay.
The regular one. Let's put it like that. What about this one? It says a great aunt and uncle. When we say great, it's not because they are wonderful people. Of course, we're talking about like in terms of the generations that they are. Well, with the great aunt and uncle. Sería como la tía abuela y el tío abuelo, just in case, okay? Although that information, it is not that relevant for the story, but as I was telling you, just to clarify, not to think about like great as the positive adjective, talking about how wonderful a person is, just as I told you, like the distance in terms of the generations. Well, guys, the idea is to answer these two questions. As you notice, it takes 3 minutes and 18 seconds. We're gonna listen twice, and well, as you already know, the idea, guys, is that you take notes. We only have 2 questions, but of course they provide a lot of information about the mishaps that happen to them. Remember that at the end of the day, we have 2 things. First of all, the mishap or the mini problem that they are describing, and also to relate these words and phrases to the mishaps that they are talking about. So please, guys, do not forget to take notes, because then we're gonna share all the answers and we're gonna see if we need like to expand a little bit. Guys, do you have any questions about the instructions?
No, teacher.
Okay, we're gonna listen twice.
Recording 1. Claire.
This was really embarrassing. I was about 17, and this guy I really liked asked me out. And it wasn't the first time I'd been on a date, but it was like the first time I'd been on a date to a restaurant, and I was really nervous and excited, even though it was only a burger restaurant. Anyway, I ordered my burger, but I was so nervous and I was talking so much that I got confused and put sugar on my burger instead of salt. But I was too embarrassed to say anything, and I don't think he noticed, or if he did, he was too polite to say. So I had to sit there and eat this burger covered in sugar and pretend that I was enjoying it, and it was so disgusting. We did see each other again, but I never admitted what had happened. I just felt too silly.
Luke.
A few years ago, I had this job in a hotel for a few months, a kind of temporary job. Normally I served in the bar, which was quite easy. But one day, after I'd been working at the hotel for a few weeks, they had a big dinner event, and a lot of the waiters were sick. I don't know why, so they were a bit desperate and they asked me to wait on the tables. But I hadn't done any training as a waiter, so I was very nervous. It was quite a smart event. Everyone was wearing evening dress and it was all quite formal, so obviously I was feeling quite stressed. Anyway, I was serving vegetables at this table, mashed potato to be precise, and I had this big spoonful of mashed potato in my hand. Then suddenly, for no reason really, I kind of tripped and fell forward, and the mashed potato went flying off the spoon and landed on the shoulder of one of the women at the table. So there was this 60-year-old woman sitting in her best dress with a great big piece of mashed potato on her shoulder. I felt so humiliated.
Rachel.
There's a family story about my great-aunt and uncle, which sounds a bit like a bad comedy sketch, but apparently it's completely true. They lived in a remote part of Wales, and they were travelling to London for some reason, which was a big thing for them because they didn't travel much. Anyway, they'd been travelling for a few hours, and the train stopped at some station. And in those days, trains used to stop for quite a long time, and people got off and bought cups of tea and stuff. So my great-aunt got off. She wasn't wearing her coat or hat, and it was the middle of winter, and she went into the station buffet to buy 2 cups of tea. But unfortunately, she came back out through the wrong door onto the opposite platform and got onto another train, which was going back to Wales. Apparently, she was searching for my uncle for ages before she realised what she'd done. And of course, he was going absolutely mad worrying about her. I think they stopped travelling completely after that. It was just too much for them.
Unit 3, Recording 1. Claire.
This was really embarrassing. I was about 17, and this guy I really liked asked me out. And it wasn't the first time I'd been on a date, but it was like the first time I'd been on a date to a restaurant, and I was really nervous and excited, even though it was only a burger restaurant. Anyway, I ordered my burger, but I was so nervous and I was talking so much that I got confused and put sugar on my burger instead of salt. But I was too embarrassed to say anything, and I don't think he noticed, or if he did, he was too polite to say. So I had to sit there and eat this burger covered in sugar and pretend that I was enjoying it, and it was so disgusting. We did see each other again, but I never admitted what had happened. I just felt too silly.
Luke.
A few years ago, I had this job in a hotel for a few months, a kind of temporary job. Normally I served in the bar, which was quite easy. But one day, after I'd been working at the hotel for a few weeks, they had a big dinner event, and a lot of the waiters were sick. I don't know why, so they were a bit desperate and they asked me to wait on the tables. But I hadn't done any training as a waiter, so I was very nervous. It was quite a smart event. Everyone was wearing evening dress and it was all quite formal, so obviously I was feeling quite stressed. Anyway, I was serving vegetables at this table, mashed potato to be precise, and I had this big spoonful of mashed potato in my hand. Then suddenly, for no reason really, I kind of tripped and fell forward, and the mashed potato went flying off the spoon and landed on the shoulder of one of the women at the table. So there was this 60-year-old woman sitting in her best dress with a great big piece of mashed potato on her shoulder. I felt so humiliated.
Rachel.
There's a family story about my great-aunt and uncle, which sounds a bit like a bad comedy sketch, but apparently it's completely true. They lived in a remote part of Wales, and they were travelling to London for some reason, which was a big thing for them because they didn't travel much. Anyway, they'd been travelling for a few hours, and the train stopped at some station. And in those days, trains used to stop for quite a long time, and people got off and bought cups of tea and stuff. So my great-aunt got off. She wasn't wearing her coat or hat, and it was the middle of winter, and she went into the station buffet to buy 2 cups of tea. But unfortunately, she came back out through the wrong door onto the opposite platform and got onto another train, which was going back to Wales. Apparently, she was searching for my uncle for ages before she realised what she'd done. And of course, he was going absolutely mad worrying about her. I think they stopped travelling completely after that. It was just too much for them.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna give you 2 minutes to organize your notes, your ideas, and then we're going to check the answers. 2 minutes is starting now. Okay, let's start with Claire's story. First of all, any volunteer who would like to share her mishap? Okay, Julian.
Okay, sorry.
This one was Claire, and she put sugar on her burger. And the question two?
No, for the moment,
That's the one. Okay.
the first one. Yeah, that would be it. Well, Gerson, you also wanted to share anything to add to what Julian says?
Teacher, sorry, I don't listen the answer, Julian. But
Okay.
I listen.
Okay. Yeah, because that was like the mishap.
Okay, but the mission, the first person, she was in a date, so she put a sugar involved salt around over the burger. So this was her first date. So she was ashamed for this, embarrassed.
Okay, that would be like the extra information to include. Well, so that means that from this list, we can eliminate sugar and we can eliminate first date. What about the second mishap from Luke? Any volunteer first, Mabeli?
Teacher, the mishap was he tripped and fell forward, and the mashed potato fell on the shoulder of the woman.
That would be it. Very good. So
The
which,
second too?
yes, Mabel, sorry?
The second question too?
Yes.
Mm, the topics in the box, a spoonful of mashed potatoes.
Mashed.
Mashed potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
Formal dinner, a formal dinner.
Mm-hmm.
People wearing even dress.
Evening dress. Very good one. Right there at the top. And any volunteer to talk about Rachel's mishap, but not hers? We already know that. Volunteer for the third one. Okay. That means that I'm going to choose. Johan, what's the third mishap, please? Johan?
Yes, I don't understand so.
I didn't understand. But anything, Johan?
Teacher.
Okay. It looks like that one was tricky. Carlos, what did you get from the third one, from Rachel?
Okay, teacher. For Rachel, her uncle has a problem in a platform because get on opposite train.
Well, it wasn't the uncle, it was the aunt. Well, the uncle and the aunt were traveling.
Yes, the uncle, no. I don't remember which person have the other train, but it is the mission.
That the aunt.
Okay.
Okay, so we have that they were traveling, the aunt got another train. Let's see if we can add more information to that one. Elkin. Elkin?
Look, hi, excuse me. Look.
No, Rachel. We already talked about
Rachel,
Luke.
excuse me. I don't hear. Okay, let me check my notes. Was searching her uncle. She was worried about her uncle.
Who was worried?
Rachel.
What else do you have?
I understand that her aunt got off and she wasn't wearing a special clothes. I don't know is what a hat. I don't know is the correct.
Hat or the coat. Yes.
Ah, coat. Okay, coat. I only listen hat, but I think that is not possible. But okay, hat. The season is in winter of winter season. And she went into the station, I think station. Oh, and a remote park walls. Yes, it was in walls. Is walls?
Yes and no. Well, yeah, the thing is that the great aunt and uncle were traveling from Wales to London. That was the thing. And at some point, the aunt took off the train to buy something. And when she went back, she took the wrong train. Jeanette says, the story is about her great aunt and uncle. He is traveling to London and he takes another train. Both of them were traveling to London and she took the other train when she was going back with the tea. And that meant that they didn't travel anymore. Well, it was a little bit trickier, this third one with the information. And of course, well, the words that we had left in here are the ones related to their story. The station buffet, where the aunt was supposed to go to get the coffee, the tea, sorry, and they were, let's say, traveling from a remote part of Wales. Well, guys, here we have some statements. And first, what you're going to do, well, because remember that now we're going to talk about that grammatical component of the night that you are going to use in a moment. And the instruction says, choose the best verb in the sentences below. For the moment, we're going to rely on your good memory of what you remember, what would be the best, let's say, grammatical conjugation for these statements. After you complete them, we're going to listen and check. After checking the exercise, we will refresh our memory about the grammatical part. Okay, so first, you're gonna do it by yourselves with what you remember and what you consider is actually the correct form of the verbs. We will listen to check and then we will refresh our memory, okay? Guys, do you have any questions about the instructions?
No, teacher.
Okay. I'm gonna give you 8 minutes. Probably you need less time, but I prefer like you take a few extra seconds to check different aspects of those statements. Remember, only one possibility on each one is correct. 8 minutes starting now. Okay, guys, time's up. We're going to check our answers, but in this case, we're gonna listen. Let me adjust the track.
Unit 3.
Okay, it's gonna be a kind of dictation, you know. Anyway, we're gonna listen twice just to check pronunciation as well. And then we're going to move to talk about the narrative tenses, which is the topic of tonight.
3. Recording 2. 1.
I was talking so much that I got confused and put sugar on my burger instead of salt.
2.
We did see each other again, but I never admitted what had happened.
3.
One day, after I'd been working at the hotel for a few weeks, they had a big dinner event.
4.
They asked me to wait on the tables, but I hadn't done any training as a waiter, so I was very nervous.
5.
I was serving vegetables at a table when suddenly I tripped and fell.
6.
They had been travelling for a while when the train stopped at a station.
7.
She got on another train which was going back to Wales.
Unit 3, Recording 2. 1.
I was talking so much that I got confused and put sugar on my burger instead of salt.
2.
We did see each other again, but I never admitted what had happened.
3.
One day, after I'd been working at the hotel for a few weeks, they had a big dinner event.
4.
They asked me to wait on the tables, but I hadn't done any training as a waiter, so I was very nervous.
5.
I was serving vegetables at a table when suddenly I tripped and fell.
6.
They had been travelling for a while when the train stopped at a station.
7.
She got on another train which was going back to Wales.
Okay, let's check just to make sure that all of us got it. Andres Correa, read number 1, please.
Okay,
Good.
teacher. I was talking so much that I got confused and put sugar on my burger instead of salt.
That's it. Well, I'm having issues trying to underline it correctly. Andres Felipe, number 2.
When did we see each other again, but I never admit what happened.
The first one?
Yes.
Actually, it's the second one.
Sí, pero yo no escuché, ya dijo had happened.
He said what had happened. Actually, this had, it wasn't that pronounced. Let's put it like that. We will see the script in a moment, and you'll see that it says what had happened. It wasn't that obvious, probably compared to was talking, and that can be tricky a little bit. Carlos, number 3.
Yes, teacher. One day, after I had been working at the hotel for a few weeks, they had a big dinner event.
That's it. Very good. Number 4, Elkin.
They asked me to wait on the tables, but I hadn't done any training as a waiter, so I was very nervous.
That's it. Number 5, Jeanette.
I was serving vegetables at a table when suddenly I tripped and fell.
I tripped. That's it. Gerson, 6.
Yes, teacher. They had been traveling for a while when the train stopped at a station.
And finally, number 7, Johan.
7.
Yes.
She got on another train which was going back to west.
That's it. Let's have a look at the script. I think I can move it a little bit. All the statements look like that. Look at the second one. The thing is that usually with the pronunciation of auxiliaries, they tend to be weak, you know, compared to other conjugations like continuous forms, or if you want to give emphasis. It was actually the sound like an R because it didn't say what had happened, like what had happened, something like that. So it was kind of difficult to get. There you go. Thank you. Well, guys, as I was telling you tonight, we're going to refresh one topic that I'm sure that you already studied while you were in A2. Because I know we were talking about in that moment the narrative tenses. The good thing is that the name is very transparent, right? When we're talking about narrative tenses, we're talking about those tenses that usually, most of the time, are used to talk about the past. That is the first characteristic. That means also that it is more common to be found on things like stories and descriptions of past events. Also, when we're talking about anecdotes, and well, precisely the topic that we have for tonight, talking about mishaps. When we're talking about the narrative tenses, we are talking about 4 of them, okay? These are the ones that we use the most. Of course, we're talking about past simple, we're talking about past continuous, past perfect, and past perfect continuous. I dare to say that probably the new one, air quotations, would be past perfect continuous, because the other 3 tenses have been used like a little bit more. Let's refresh our memory about all of them, although up to this point, you guys are already experts when we're talking about different grammatical structures. Well, the basic one, the one that we probably know the most from the group, I dare to say once again, which is past simple. We're talking about a certain action or event that took place on a specific point in the past. It is pretty clear by looking at the statement that the action is already finished. In some cases, we even add some time expressions that are helping us to enrich that idea of talking about past. Looking at the first statement, it says, I visited Italy, last summer. We can also begin the ideas with the time expressions, of course, using the comma. Let's not forget that part. Last year, comma, I went to Korea. And well, we can't deny that we also have negative statements using the auxiliary, of course. I didn't go to school yesterday. Now, actually, we can't say whatever we want only using past simple. I mean, talking about an anecdote, talking about a mishap, talking about the experience. But once again, something that I've been repeating in this cycle a lot, guys, you are about to become B2. Using only past simple actually looks a little bit incorrect. You know, past simple is only for people in A2. Like, only past simple to talk about past experiences. We have to make it more dynamic, including more tenses, more structures, not only past simple. This would be like the easiest path. But once again, guys, you are about to become B2. The second tense that we are reviewing tonight is talking about past continuous. As the name states, that means that the action that we are talking about is in progress, okay? When we're talking about actions in progress, we always need 2 components. First of all, the verb to be, keeping in mind if we are talking about plural or singular, as you remember, was is singular and were is plural. And of course, the main verb goes with ing. Thanks to the ing, we know that the action is in progress, but we always need the 2 components. It was raining yesterday Kelly was not studying English last night. The students were running in the classroom. By reading these statements, we can imagine already that there is an action in progress that is happening. Different from past simple, that when we have to make a negative statement, we have to use an auxiliary. In the past continuous, we only have to add not. That's all that we need. Now, of course, because we know up to this point that when we have the verb to be, it is being, let's say, functioning as an auxiliary because the main verb, for example, in this case is studying. So was is the auxiliary, and to make it negative, we use not. The other tense that we have been using like a little bit is being past perfect. Probably past perfect is not as common as the other two ones. Julian, yes, tell me.
So we can't say, for example, he didn't study.
No, never.
Okay. He was, well, I don't remember.
No. We can say didn't study. We can say didn't study. That's it. Or wasn't studying. But didn't studying, never ever. Yeah, those two combinations would be like incorrect or simple or progressive. Okay. Any other question? Okay. Well, I was telling you guys the other tense that we have in here. Which is past perfect, that probably is not that common, not because it is complicated, it's because its use is really reduced to talk about like the past or the past. That is basically the idea of it. It is more like extra information of a past action. We can say the train had departed by the time I got to the station. Notice that this would be like the main event of this mini story. I got to the station. This is extra information. The train had departed. This would be the first action, and this would be the second action. More like first and second, it is like this is the complement of the action that already happened in the past. That is why, once again, as I was telling you, the past perfect is like the past of the past. After Kelly had finished her homework, she played computer games. So once again, this is the most important event in this idea. This is just context. Once again, playing as extra information to enrich the intention that we have. So we can see that the first action was to finish the homework, and then the second action was to play computer games. And it says, I had known about it for quite a while. Now, it doesn't mean like we always have to use past perfect next to a sentence in past simple. It is supposed to be like that because once again, the idea of past perfect is to give extra information or context to past simple, but we can create sentences using past simple. Guys, in Spanish, what could be a sentence in past perfect?
Había escuchado o había sabido algo un poco de eso.
Había escuchado, había terminado. Bueno, hablando de eso de que arriba. Exacto, ese había. So always intention is past, past of the past. We had already talked about this, let's say officially, and now we can add one more to this group. The past perfect continuous. So pretty much the same idea of past perfect, but now what I want to do is to point out how the action was happening in the past. And of course that the action finished at certain point in the past. This means that this action is completely done. And notice the combination. First of all, if it is perfect, that means that I have to use the auxiliaries. You already know that we have or has, but it is not just a perfect tense, it is past perfect. So the auxiliary for past perfect is had. for all the pronouns. It doesn't matter if it is third person, plural, singular, had works for all of them. Remember what I was, well, telling you, like, more like telling you, like summarizing for you, because you already know, when we are talking about tenses that go in progression, we always need the verb to be. In this case, we had was, because was past continuous, a very simple tense. In this case, we had to use been, because we're talking about a grammatical structure that belongs to the perfect family. Let's put it like that. And of course, the ing to show that we are talking about something that was in progression in a point that is even further in the past. I had been living in Italy for 5 years when I decided to move back home. Notice, this is the main idea. I decided to move back home, and this sentence is in past. In this case, I'm pointing out that this action was in progress in my past, but this progress action is already finished. What would be the, let's use the translation for the moment. I had been living in Italy. What would it be?
Había estado viviendo en Italia.
Había estado viviendo. Siempre son tres cositas. So we gotta keep in mind that these three words have meaning in here. Once again, keeping had, because that's the auxiliary, keeping been, because it's the, let's say, representative of the verb to be, and of course the ing, because we need something to show progression. Well, in the three examples that are included here, all of them are affirmative. In some cases, we can also use negative, of course. We just add the negative part to the auxiliary. That would be hadn't, okay? Just in case, and no había estado. That is basically the intention. So, as I was telling you guys, let me go back, but this is the one that summarizes the grammatical combination. We can tell any story using only past simple. We can communicate only using past simple, and that's okay. Of course, the idea, if the situation allows us, is to include more tenses, because we can't do like the opposite thing, you know, like to force ourselves to keep on using past perfect continuous because I have to put it. But then when we see the story or when we read the story, we see that it looks like way too, I don't know, complicated to understand. So of course, as the situation allows us, let's try to expand the use of tenses with past continuous, with past perfect, hopefully with past perfect continuous, although it is not that common, to be honest, but it exists. So if we can use it, let's put it into practice, and not only using past simple. And that's the idea of narrative tenses. Yes? Someone says sorry, I don't know if it is Andres or if it's another.
Yes, teacher, it's me. I have a question, but I don't know how to. I want to try to say in English, but it's all I need to always use in past perfect continuous had the auxiliary been. So I mean, I'm gonna try. No, in Spanish.
No, I
Por
got
ejemplo,
it. Yes, you have to use been
yes,
in past perfect
because
continuous.
Porque, por ejemplo, si quiero hacer una oración en past perfect continuous, puedo decir had done plus ing.
Had done plus ing.
Yes,
No.
o sea, porque como es past perfect, entonces siempre uno pues asocia que el perfect es el participio pasado del verbo siguiente, después del, o sea, no sé si me hago entender, o sea, por ejemplo, had.
You said had done, that is a simple tense.
Yes, is perfect, past perfect, simple. Yes.
Until done.
But
if
can
we
I say
add ing, for example, give me an example. For example, I have done painting.
Había hecho ejercicio.
No, but in Spanish, no.
Okay.
Yeah, because you said that had done and something with ing. Notice, for example, I had done painting. If I say I had done, it's immediately let me put this one.
Past perfect simple. Okay.
It's past perfect, yeah, the simple one. To make it progressive, after had, we have to put been and then the verb in ing, not done, only been. Let's say that have been, they are like fixed. You can't change them, talking about the progressive one.
Okay, teacher, I got it. Thank you.
Good, yeah. Yeah, because when we have all these combinations, then we start to put them together. And well, it is not that I didn't want to help you in Spanish, but one example in Spanish is different here to what we're using in English. So that is why I told you now. If we said had been exercising, había estado ejercitándome. Bueno, no es de reflexivo, but that's an extra story. Very good. Well, guys, as usual, these are these type of things that when we put them into practice, we see how much we can manage and how much we can include. Remember, guys, that at the beginning, when you chose your mishap, you were answering very few questions like brainstorming to tell a story, right? Now, this is the moment to tell your story. In your slide, guys, you are going to add that second box to write that story about your mishap. The idea, guys, is that you hopefully use the 4 narrative tenses. But as I was telling you, the idea is that the story looks, let's say, readable or natural, not to include the tenses just because I have to put them and it is an obligation of the task. That is not the idea. Of course, not only past simple. As I was telling you, past simple is for A2 people. You are a week like far to become B2. Okay, so let's try to make it more dynamic, include the tenses. So guys, you have to add the box. Ustedes mismos la ponen ahí en la cajita. ¿Listo? The idea is that it begins with my story. Notice the amount of words. We're talking about 100 words. Our intention is always like to think of our final exam. You know that usually what we have to write down goes around 80 to 90 words. So you already had the beginning. You brainstorm your ideas. You already have like, let's say, the foundation of your story. Now you're going to expand it a little bit more, okay? Let me see which one of you has already put the box. ¿Dónde está la cajita? I'm gonna do the example with Gerson's, if you don't mind. I think I copy and paste it and but you're gonna do it with yours. So my story. You put the box and then you're going to write down the story that you brainstorm already with the information that you had in here. Okay? My store, mi tienda, Yesit. Careful with the spelling. Es que escribiste my store, no my story. Muy bien, Julián. Muy bien, Lisette. Pero Julián creo que es en la diapositiva de José.
Sure.
Julián, la suya es la 11.
Teacher, can you repeat me the following instructions?
The idea is to write down the story.
Okay.
So on your box, you are going to put the box, you know, because all boxes only have this, right? So you have to put it here.
Yes.
To write down your story, keep in mind that, let me go back to the slide, sorry. The idea, guys, is that, well, you are going to expand on the answers of the questions now to make it a story because it's the use of the narrative tenses. Hopefully you can use the 4 tenses, at least the 3 of them. And well, the number of words is 100. There are 2 hands. Andres Correa, tell me.
Teacher, could you send the link again, please?
Okay, I'm gonna send it from here so I don't make the mistake. ¿Quién más tiene la mano levantada mientras envío el link? Ya miro. Well, Jesse, your microphone is open. I don't know if you have a question. Okay, let me go back to the slides. Ahí sí, ya puse la cajita que grabó. Muy bien, Natalia. Well, guys, I'm gonna give you 15 minutes, like, to start working on the story. Then I'm gonna share some of your stories. Well, you know how it works. In case that tonight you don't have enough time, you have until tomorrow 6 p.m. So I don't want to interrupt you anymore. I'm gonna display this slide with the instructions. 15 minutes, and then I start checking your stories. Well, guys, I'm going to start having a look at some of your stories, just like to check certain aspects. Remember the two instructions that we had first? Sorry, first of all, talking about including the tenses, let's say as natural as possible. And second, the number of words, 100, okay? I'm going to have a look. I was already here on 16. Siempre empiezo con las primeras. Voy a empezar por acá. Ujú. Okay, continues. Going pretty well. Listen. Miley, you know, actually this first part would be a good, let's say, window to use past perfect. And say that day I left my house early because I didn't want to miss my appointment. Pero no sé, yo había salido de mi casa temprano porque no quería perder la cita. So here, instead of using only past simple, you could use past perfect.
Okay, teacher.
Just like to keep in mind. Okay, progressive as well. And this looks big. Espacio. Controlling. Okay, Jeanette. Just keep in mind some aspects of capitalization. Porque mira, room iba en mayúscula, pero no, la colocas en mayúscula, pero no tiene que ir. Este one está o no va en mayúscula. Entonces, par detallitos. Ok, good. Vamos por acá arriba. Let's look at force. In December at 2021, el at no es necesario, you see. You see, notice here, was is singular, right? Careful, because you have we. That means that, what is the plural version of was?
We were
In Wacom. Y
in
también,
Wacom.
también se repite el was otra vez con we.
Okay, teacher, un momento.
Decir pilas con el I, creo que eso le había dicho cuando las preguntitas, que veo que el I está en minúscula. If you said I had carried my car, está diciendo que usted había cargado su carro.
Start, what is you are carrying?
Take. In this case,
Taken.
taken.
Take.
Taken, well, using the participle form, right? Diles con el spelling de where, que quedó todo raro.
Where,
En el primer renglón. El que está señalado con, está subrayado rojo. Ok. Después del punto mayúscula. After Mishap. Okay, a few things. Here, when we decide, because everything is in past, there can't be any verb in present. So keep that in mind. We had two. After two, we can't make any transformation to the verbs, okay? So don't change it into past. I'm going to have a look at one more, a shorter one. We're about to finish. No, no, ¿cómo así que 4 longs? Andrés, ¿qué es eso? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Only one?
Only one. 100 palabras y 4 long, hombre. Well, anyway, you still need to expand it a little bit more to keep the number of words because it is 100. Guys, when I check this activity, well, which of course is going to be graded, make sure to check the spelling. As I was telling you, probably there are some cases that there are those words that they are showed like underlined, the red line to check spelling and stuff. Remember, guys, that you have until tomorrow to make any adjustments at 6 p.m. Okay? Well, guys, that would be it for tonight. Keep in mind the instructions for this activity in particular. As usual, thank you very much and see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.